Hello friends, welcome back. My name's Ramon. How are you today? So if you didn't see my last CosRX video, I just finished reviewing the CosRX Shield Snail Fit Essence Sunscreen. If you didn't watch that video, first of all, I wanna know why. But also, I mentioned that I'd be coming and doing a review for this other sunscreen as well. And if you didn't watch that video, I mentioned that was because I didn't know CosRX had other sunscreens and I was mad hyped to try these other options out. With CosRX, there's obviously now 3 sunscreen options. You have their Aloe Soothing Sun Cream, which is their most popular, and that one's a combo sunscreen. I think that has a more moisturizing texture, but technically it's best for all skin types. Then you have the Shield Fit Snail Essence one that I just reviewed, which is more lightweight, more fit for oily, acne-prone skin, and is solely chemical. And then you have their solely mineral option. That's what we're talking about today. Their CosRX All Green Comfort Sun SPF50+, PA+++++, 4 pluses this time. But before we get into it, I'm gonna ask to hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you know when I post more skincare, sunscreen, and Fenty related content on my channel. Give the video a thumbs up and down below in the comments. Again, have you tried these other CosRX sunscreen options? Have you tried this one specifically? Sound off down below. And what are some of your other favorite major Korean beauty brand sunscreens? Sound off. Also, make sure you check the description box for the link to my Patreon. If you are able to and it's within your means, please consider donating to my sunscreen fund just because I pay for all these out of pocket and they cost some major coin, especially at the rate that I'm going and at the rate that you request them. Again, $1 to $3 max is all I'm really asking. Please don't do the most and only if you're able to. Thank you. And also let's celebrate having hit 10,000 subscribers. Super major milestone. 10 months into this and I hit 10,000 subscribers. That's crazy. Thank you guys so much. I really, honestly, literally couldn't have done this without you. Aww. So major thank you. So back to the sunscreen. Again, I didn't know CosRX had other options. I just reviewed their chemical one, the Snail Fit Essence one. This is their solely mineral one featuring zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. Looking at some of the product claims, I'm looking off of YesStyle specifically, it's claiming that it's going to be lightweight and soothing sun cream that offers high protection, and it's enriched with mugwort, chamomile, centella, and white water lily to help calm and soothe the skin. And it also claims, boldly, to leave no white cast. That's what we're gonna test today. I also wanna say I purchased this with my own money. I bought this at a cute little Korean boutique in Box Park and Shoreditch here in London a few months ago. I've been trying it out the last couple days and we're gonna talk about it. How I test my mineral sunscreens, I go off my 4B testing rubric where I talk about beard, beading, beats, and brown skin friendly. For the application videos, you see it's a 4-day wear test. The first 3 days, I alter the amount of skincare underneath and the amount of makeup on top just to see how the sunscreen plays with those different variables. And then day 4 is the day I wear this by itself on a bare face and you see what it looks like on bare skin, but more so how it reapplies on top of itself as well, because you should be reapplying your sunscreen. So starting with application footage, first day I wore this is the day that I did light skincare and the full beat on top of it. Whenever I do my first days, you can see that I measure out the sunscreen, 1/4 teaspoon to cover my face, my ears, and my neck. I initially apply only half a face so that you see what the sunscreen looks like on only half a face compared to no sunscreen to see if there is any white cast. I apply the sunscreen, work it in, let it set for at least 5 minutes. Then on screen, you can see the no sunscreen side with the sunscreen side. And then after that, I apply it to my other half. Again, work it in, let it sit down, and then I apply my makeup on top. Day 1, full coverage beat, foundation, concealer, blush, bronzer, contour. And I really love the way the makeup wore on top of this because this is a more matte finish. It's set down nice and lightweight, makeup applied beautifully, makeup buffed on top, no issues, no texture, no pilling. And initially I was flawless. Throughout the day though, I did get oily. I have the most obnoxious oily skin and normally I would blot, but with these tests I let the oils do their things to really see how things wear overall over a full course day. And I will say, surprisingly, while I did get really oily, my makeup didn't break up around my nose, which is a positive because that's a thing I really struggle with mineral sunscreens. Then day 2 is the day I do the full skincare routine underneath. I'm talking layers of toners, serums, moisturizers, occlusives, emollients, just to see how the sunscreen works with other products underneath it and how it works texture-wise. I can thankfully say there was no issue. The sunscreen itself applies really nicely on top of the other skincare, no issue. If anything, I think it applies better with all those emollients underneath. The texture of this is nice, and again, I have oily skin. If I can reduce the amount of layers on my face, the better, but sometimes you need that. With the day 2 test, it's really just to test how all those emollients affect the application of the sunscreen, if I have to put in more elbow grease, and if it's gonna set any better or any worse. Overall, that was very successful. With a light bead on top, again, there was no issues. I found initially on application, my face looked very nice and matte. Throughout the day, I did get oily, but my makeup didn't break up horribly, and I found that the texture overall looked really nice on my skin. And then day 3 was a very pared down day, super simple skincare, super simple beat with a sunscreen. I found this applied really nicely and acted as a moisturizer on my oily skin. If you have dry skin, don't recommend, do moisturize. But I find that this sits nicely and moisturizes my skin in a nice lightweight manner where I feel like my skin's nourished, it's not too heavy. Makeup applied again beautifully on top, although I will say with the more sheer beat, I find that the makeup's coloring is a little bit altered. When you have more full coverage, it's not an issue, but with a sheer coverage foundation or concealer or whatever you use, the sunscreen itself starts to peek through and the color looks a little bit more gray or pale. And then day four was an exciting day. Day 4 is where I do a simple skincare routine and nothing but the sunscreen on bare skin. So you can see if there's any white cast, how it sits on the skin, how it looks on just bare skin. As you can see, it has a certain kind of look to it. And with all the other days, it was kind of apparent that there was a little bit of something going on there. But then day 4 is also the day that I reapply the sunscreen on top of itself so that you can see how it reapplies, how it looks on the skin, how that wears. And that's where things took a turn for the worst. As you can see, for day 4, I use the finger method for both application and reapplication. For my face, I know for a fact that 2 finger lengths is a 1/4 teaspoon, which works perfectly for my face, my ears, and my neck. When I worked it in the first time, it looked good. It looked okay. It looks okay, period. The reapplication though, working it into the skin, I noticed, ooh, this is requiring a little bit more work. Because this is so matte already with no emollients underneath, I find it takes a little bit more elbow grease to work in. And then in the facial hair and everything else, it just kind of crusted. And then I waited for it to set, hoping it would set down and look a little bit better, and it didn't. So that leads me to my next part, which is the 4 Bs, where I test the beard, beading, beats, and brown skin friendly part of the rubric. Beard is how this works in hairline, facial hair, eyebrows, beard, and it doesn't, no. So you can see with each day's application, it collects in the beard and it leaves a cast. And on my hair, which is a little bit more dark, it kind of has like a bluey silver look to it. And it becomes really prominent in my hairline with the first application. And then with the reapplication on day 4, it was very prominent in the beard and I could feel it in my eyebrows and my mustache. Not cute. Next part is beading. Does the sunscreen pill up? Is there a weird texture? Does it play nice with other skincare? What's going on with that? And I will say this is a very positive experience with this part. I feel like the sunscreen is a weird in between of being kind of a powdery feel to it, as well as more of a primer silicone feel to it. And it feels nice and plush and it works with the skin beautifully. With not a lot of stuff underneath it, it works in nicely, but I really enjoyed how this applied with more emollients underneath it. With the emollients, I got the slip that I wanted, but because the sunscreen itself is a little bit more mattifying, it's a little bit more oil controlling, the final result didn't look too radiant. So I really liked the way that looked and how it felt and how it applied. So no weird textures. I didn't find there was weird dryness in any areas of my face, especially my under eye. Sometimes that can look a little bit drying. That's really good. Third B, beat. How it plays with makeup, how makeup applies on top of it, and at the end of the day, does it affect the wear or the look of the makeup? This is where things got a little bit hairy. As I mentioned, with more sheer makeup on top of this, there's a little bit of a coloring change that occurs as a result of the white cast of the sunscreen a little bit. I find that I look a little bit more fair, more gray. I will also say that while this left my face very matte in the beginning, it's not oil controlling in any way. So I did get oily throughout the day, more so than normal, I would think. Usually I'm used to that. I do blot just because no matter what I use, I have very rarely found something that keeps my skin matte all day. Makeup did, however, apply nicely on top of it, did buff nicely with no weird moving of the sunscreen or anything underneath. And I didn't break up in my oily T-zone areas, which is a normal issue I have with mineral sunscreen. So overall, makeup application process was good. There's just some caveats to it. And then the last B, brown skin friendly. Does this have a white cast, and if so, to what degree? Yes and yes. On most of the days, there was a little bit of something on my face. You could tell there was a whiteness, a sheerness, a dullness to my face as a result of the sunscreen. And again, this is zinc and titanium only. Don't have exact percentages, but I don't care. It has a white cast. With reapplication, that was even worse. And the thing is, when I do this part of the sunscreen testing rubric, it's a matter of I'm in the middle when it comes to skin tone. I'm not very fair, I'm not very deep, very medium. And so if something doesn't have a white cast on me, I usually go and find other resources, other creators that have used the sunscreen as a way of having receipts or being able to prove to you guys to what degree something is brown skin friendly. So when something has a white cast on me, I'm pretty much sure for a fact that it's just not gonna work for anything deeper or darker than I am. So is this brown skin friendly? No, period. Point blank. So my final thoughts on the CosRX All Green Comfort Sun. It's not Ramon recommended. What I will say, revisiting some of the claims, this again mentions that it's soothing and lightweight. Check. The texture is lightweight. I find that it sits beautifully on the skin. I don't really feel it, and especially for me having oily skin, I find this is mattifying, so I don't feel a lot of emolliency on the face. It does have really nice anti-inflammatory and antioxidant ingredients and claims to it, and I can attest to that. This was really soothing. And again, that's from the centella, from the mugwort, from the chamomile, and it also has snail secretion filtrate, and also has white water lily. Love all those ingredients. Centella and mugwort are some of my favorite ingredients in K-beauty, so loved seeing those in this. I did find this to be a really nice texture and a nice feel on the skin. And especially for something that you're gonna use for more like high UV index days, it's not a bad option. Depending on the formulation, I will say there's no alcohol, no fragrance, and no essential oils, although it does have botanical extracts, such as the one I mentioned for like the anti-inflammatory claims. And then smell-wise, there's really not much of a smell. There's a little bit something there, but it's not very overt the way there was with the Snail Fit one. And then, as I mentioned with that, it's very soothing, so it didn't burn around my eye area, it didn't get into my eye and burn that as a result either. So as I mentioned, this is not Ramon recommended unless you are very fair, you want a mattifying sunscreen, or you don't care about a white cast and you will put makeup on top of it regardless. Price point is okay. Looking on various K-beauty retailers like YesStyle, Stylovana, Style Korean, this retails in the high teens for pound or low 20s for USD, so it's very in the middle. With all that said, unless you're looking for that very specific thing I just mentioned, I have better performing mineral sunscreens at equal or better price points. This is 50 mil, so it's very mid-tier, but as I mentioned, I have my Access Y sunscreen, I have the Cocoa kind, COTS, Kinship, Sunbum, all performed a lot better than this, and I like the feel and look of them on my skin a lot better too. So if you're looking for mineral sunscreen, I recommend those a lot more than this, but again, if you want something very specific, this might give it to you. And with that, thank you for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you know when I post more skincare, sunscreen, and fancy related content on my channel. Give the video a thumbs up. And again, down below in the comments, let me know, have you tried this? Did your experience match mine? Was it different? Let me know. What are your thoughts on these other CosRX sunscreens? And also, just so I have more sunscreens to try out and recommend to you guys, what are some of your favorite major K-beauty brand sunscreens? Sound off. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.